And as we were saying last night, parts of New Jersey were hit hard by flooding. And of course, and in the wake of the devastating floods that occurred in Texas, the urgency to prepare for weather related emergencies is clearer than ever. Joining us this morning is Sharon Hawa, who is the Senior Manager of Emergency Services at Best Friends Animal Society, a leading national animal welfare organization dedicated to saving pets' lives. Welcome, Sharon. Good morning to you. And a lot of people never give it a thought that in an emergency, if they have to evacuate, they think that, oh, every place will take pets. Not every place does, right? So it's about preparation. Talk about last night's flooding in our area and the ongoing flash flood warnings across the region and why pet owners need to be prepared.
Yes, good morning, Ken. Nice to be on with you. These types of severe weather emergencies are always unpredictable. So this is the time to be prepared for those types of emergencies. And families, you need to include your pets in your plans. Pets rely on us to keep them safe. So now is the time to think through some of those things that you would do, what actions you would take with your family, including your pets. Where are you going to go? What are some of the things that you're going to be bringing with you? And if you unfortunately end up displaced, is there someone that you rely on that can temporarily watch your pets for you? So there are a number of options out there. There are some pet-friendly hotels that if you need to evacuate, you can evacuate with your pets too. Sometimes there are some low-cost boarding options. Maybe you can do some research and look online to see if there's some low-cost boarding options. And then in an emergency, your county typically opens some pet-friendly evacuation shelters. So it's good to kind of know where those locations are ahead of time so that if you do need to evacuate, you know exactly where you're going. And you need to put together an essential go bag with all of the necessary items that you would need for a few days, your pet's medications, your veterinarian information with some medications and dosing info, just in case you don't remember or you don't have access to your phone, treats, some comfort items if your pet is going to be inside of a crate for a good while, maybe put some blanket or something that smells like you that can kind of help reduce the stress. And just the essentials that would get you by for a few days.
Yeah, it's so important. I spent years living in South Florida and we were always at hurricane. We were just talking about hurricane season. So we always had to be prepared. And we had two dogs. And I remember I lived about a mile from the ocean, and that area was still in the flood zone, the what they called the level one flood zone for South Florida. So that meant if you live in Florida, you know what that means. That meant that you always had to be ready in the event of an evacuation. My in-laws lived 20 miles west. So they never had flooding. We used to have it 50% of the time. So we always had the plan that if we knew severe weather was coming, we would just get the dogs over to the in-laws and then come back and stay at the house and wait. The dogs would have a play date with the in-laws. But this way, in the event that we had to evacuate, we could just get in the car and drive north, south, east. Well, we couldn't go east because that's ocean, but north, south, or west and get away. So that's why, as you're talking about it, just you can't remind people enough because many people are new to a certain area or new to having a pet and they just don't think about that. But thankfully, a lot more places are pet friendly today. Now, Best Friends Animal Society emphasizes the importance of microchipping in case you get separated from your pet and keeping those vaccinations up to date. Explain how these steps can make a difference if a pet gets separated during a flood or an evacuation.
Yes, microchipping is probably the number one way you can reunify with your pet if your pet gets lost or you get separated during the disaster. If you're separated, if you can't access your home, your pet finds a way out, maybe your pet is outside and escapes. There is a number of people who might be taking maybe finding your pet in the street and bringing your pet to the local shelter. The local shelter will scan your pet for a microchip. And if your contact information on that microchip is up to date, you will reunify with your pet. Another alternative to microchipping, which we encourage both, is having an identification collar with an identification tag with your phone number. Because if that person finds your pet, they can make the call instead of bringing your pet to the shelter to get scanned for microchip. So definitely microchip your pet or at the very least have some kind of identification tag on your dogs and cats so that you can reunify with your lost pet in these circumstances.
Yeah, and photos, right? So photos, you want current photos, and everybody has a phone, so there's no excuse. But make sure You back those photos up to the cloud, as you mentioned, in case your phone falls in the water and dies. At least a relative could download it for you, print it out, and you could post, looking for my pet. So it takes a second, right, to take those photos and just make sure you have the current photo. And also for pet owners feeling overwhelmed by everything, what is the one most important action they could take today to ensure their pet safety in a weather emergency? What's the easiest?
Yeah, download your local alert system. A lot of your counties have text notification alerts that will basically tell you when there is something that you need to be prepared for. And you can look on your county emergency management agency's webpage, and find that information and sign up for it. It'll give you notifications when there's something happening. And don't wait until the last minute. Start to prepare now. Take those actions now. Train your pets how to get into crates. If you're going to crate your pet, make it a very nice environment for them, so that they don't think that they're only getting to the crate when they have to go to the vet's office. You can do some treat training with your pet, so that they think their crate is a safe place, a fun place. That way, when you do have to evacuate, you can easily get your pet into the crate and be able to leave quickly. There's some really great training tools on YouTube that you can Google from Best Friends Animal Society on treat training and crate training. So I would hope that you can take some action now and do that as soon as possible, not wait until the last minute.
Yeah, we had Pomeranians. The way we trained them, we never made their crate punishment. We never said, get your crate, like if they did something bad, because then they don't want to go. And we used to always say, oh, do you want to go to your place? You want to go to your place? And then they would get into the crate, and then we would always have a little treat and a stuffed animal in there. And so it was easy. So, we would say, do you want to go bye-bye? And if forget it, then they would get into their bag. We had little carry bags. They were this big. So we would fly to Florida with them, and they were just easy. But that was the way we got them, used to it. And a lot of people think, oh, it's so uncomfortable for those dogs to be in there. They like being cocooned, right? Don't they like the security of being in a little crate? This way they feel safe and protected. So it's not a necessarily a bad thing. I'm so glad you're out there, and so glad you do what you do with the animals. We really appreciate you. Sharon Hawa, please come back anytime. You are the Senior Manager of Emergency Services at Best Friends Animal Society. What's a website for everybody to check you guys out?
You can go to www.bestfriends.org. That is the website that has all the
Bestfriends.org.
information.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. Again, come back anytime. It's great advice. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.